Welcome to the Luna Holistic Podcast. I'm your host, Geneva Robbins, and every month on this podcast, we'll talk about Reiki, as well as answering your questions on all things spiritual. We are gratefully located in Calgary in Treaty 7 territory. Thank you all and welcome to the show. Hello, this is the Luna Holistic Podcast. My name is Geneva Robbins, and today I have Melissa Jaswal, used to be Miss Melissa Adams, on the podcast with me. Say hi, Melissa.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. You got married. That's why you're now Melissa Jaswal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Super exciting.
Yes.
And today we're going to be talking about distance Reiki and what is distance Reiki and how does it work and how it might help you. So we're going to start with our regular collective breath of gratitude. So you can just take a very deep breath, just gently closing your eyes if you're not driving, that is. Just do a little micro meditation, connecting into the earth below your feet, and just letting anything heavy go with a big sigh of relief. And then just noticing the gifts and benefits of being in the particular place you are in the world right now. That little patch of earth below your feet is a blessed and sacred place. Just send a deep feeling of gratitude into that little patch of land that in this moment you are calling home. And feel that gratitude rebounded back to you, filling you up from head to toe with that harmony with the earth and Mother Nature. And then let that gratitude and that energy expand out from you, maybe shining out from your heart or radiating through your aura. Just feeling incredibly grateful for the air that you're breathing, the trees outside, the plants and animals, and all of the people that inhabit this space. Feeling so blessed and grateful for all of the gifts that we're given every single day. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I take these little micro moments of meditation as many times as I possibly can. Anytime I'm waiting, anytime I'm transitioning from one activity to another, I'm always sort of searching for those little meditation moments throughout my day, and it makes a giant, giant difference. So I can like sprinkle my self-care throughout the whole day.
It reminds me of when I used to be your student, when we used to start the class with meditation, and I would just sit there and relax and ground and it just always felt so good. That's what that just reminded me of. So I wish that I could just have your voice in my ear 5 times a day.
Yeah. Well, you can, because I'm on Insight Timer as a teacher. Little plug. And there's lots of little meditations on our website too. So some people tell me that they fall asleep, that my voice puts them to sleep. And it's actually just the best compliment I could possibly have, because we all need that sleep.
Very soothing.
Very soothing. Thank you. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me today, Melissa. We get to talk about our favorite topic, Reiki. And our topic today is about distance Reiki. And you've done a lot of distance Reiki sessions or virtual sessions, sort of over the phone or online, and you've received a bunch. And I'm just sort of curious, what's your take with it? Like, how does it help you maybe personally? And what do you see the benefits being for people who might be curious about it?
Yeah, I know you'll probably dive a little deeper into explaining the science behind it, but
Hmm.
basically, for me, what distance Reiki is like the practitioner can do Reiki on someone literally anywhere in the world, anywhere on the planet. I could be here in Calgary and I have clients in Ontario, say, or I could have a client in Japan. And it means that Reiki transcends time and space, and it will reach that person if their intention is to receive Reiki. And as soon as I bring in those symbols, the energy starts flowing. And so, one thing that I noticed, because the first time I received distance Reiki was actually when I was your student. And I think it was like you would give me a session during my levels, right? Or a few sessions during levels. And so I would like sometimes be later at night because I was working in retail at the time. So we'd pick a time in the evening, say like 6 p.m., and it'd be just like a regular Reiki session where we would kind of chat together. We'd talk about, kind of what's going on, what I'm going through, then set an intention for me. I would set an intention, and then I would just lay back and receive. And what was interesting for me was that distance Reiki, because I didn't have you or the practitioner in the room, I noticed that I always felt like these little butterflies in my stomach. And it was the same feeling every single time I received distance Reiki. And I would get this, it's hard to explain, but like my eyes are closed, I would get this like flood of light, and I would see it kind of like pooling up in the bottom of my eyes. And it was always just this really cool experience, but it was like it happened the same way every time. And I was like, oh, like it was just so neat that it was this, like the sessions were always different, but those things, those little tiny specific things were like the same. And it was always just so cool. I was like, wow, like you're not even in the room with me, and I'm feeling this movement of energy and this visual in my mind's eye, the same thing every time.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
And I had really
wild.
big shifts totally with distance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing that kind of, even though I do it and I've received it tons, and I teach people how to do distance Reiki, it still like kind of blows my mind of just how big those shifts can be, and that you don't need to be in the same room as the person, because the energy, even when you are in the same room, is coming from a space that's beyond time and space. And it's always wild to me because it's like, as a practitioner, you do the exact same steps in the exact same order that you would do in person. The only difference is that you're just missing the physical touch on the body. That's it. But in terms of the energy, everything else is identical. The shifts that you can make are just as big, and sometimes even bigger. I know I've experienced that with distance Reiki, is that sometimes you can go in such a deep, relaxed state because you're at home, right? Like you're in your own habitat and you're in this sort of restful place where you feel totally comfortable. And sometimes you can kind of relax a little bit more. And in that relaxation, it's like the energy can start shifting. That's super cool.
Oh yeah. Like I'd always be in bed
Mhm.
receiving, and I'd just be like, whoa, I went deep.
Yeah.
Like you'd be bringing me back after the session, and I'd be like, woo, like it'd take me a little bit to kind of come back to.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's kind of cool because the way, like you're talking about, like the science part of it, of the science, the studies have yet to be completed. But my understanding, or my sort of working hypothesis on how all of this Reiki stuff works, is that we live in a quantum universe, so when you get past the level of the atom and you go into that subatomic quantum realm, there's this field of energy that underlies all matter and is kind of infinitely connected with everything else. Yeah, so they've done these like cool experiments where they're actually able to see that they can take one object and see that one object in two places at the same time. So like by location, they can run these experiments where particles that are paired together on a quantum level, that when you do something to one of them, the other one responds instantaneously and will have the same reaction whether they're in the same room or if they are miles and miles apart. And the distance doesn't matter because it's not working through distance. It's not traveling from point A to point B. What's happening is that the effect happens in one area. It goes into the quantum realm, which is connected everywhere. And sort of like the wires in your computer, it pops up instantly over where the effect is occurring. So to put it in distance Reiki terms, the practitioner is sitting in their home. They're basically using Reiki, which is kind of like quantum tools to basically create a pathway or an opening between in time and space and reach out their energetic hands to wherever the person is. And you were kind of imagining that the energy is flowing to the person, or you're placing your hands on the person and giving them Reiki as though they were in the room with you. And the effect or the energy is going to instantaneously arrive wherever that person is. And that person then gets to feel an experience. They have feelings and experiences of that energy. They have the same sort of shifts, maybe relief of pain or an increased state of calm. You feel calmer, you feel more relaxed. When we do Reiki, we also often do a little bit of a guided meditation. So we might guide the person to breathe or relax or do these sort of visualizations, which is similar to what we do in person. So it's sort of like a meditation you get help with, because we can tune in to that energy frequency and help guide you to that state that you want to be in. So that intention energy. Sometimes I feel like we're just holding this bubble of that, whatever energy you want around you and helping you harmonize with it. So if you want to feel more calm or peaceful or energized, or like you've got your life back on track and things are moving forward, all of those things, we can kind of hold that energetic space open and then help harmonize you with that frequency. And it's something that we can do when we're together, and we can also be like literally on the other side of the planet. And I've had many sessions where people have been pretty much on the other side of the planet from, as far as away as Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UK, Macau and Malaysia, like on the other side of the planet. And the effect's the same as if they were just on the other side of town, and the effect is the same as if they were in the same room as me. What's also kind of cool is that your ability to visualize as a practitioner goes way, way up. And in some ways, the sessions go so deep because it's almost like your energy hands can reach inside the body. So if there's an issue with, say, somebody's spine, sometimes it's like I'm holding that vertebra that's sore, or if they have maybe things happening with their heart chakra, then you can send energy right to that heart chakra and help balance it and make it feel happy and good. And yeah, it's pretty wild how it works. As I share that, are there things that pop up for you, Melissa?
Yeah, totally. you know how you were saying the practitioner kind of goes a little bit more deep as well. We're not in the same room. And what I've experienced through like facilitating a distant session is that usually I'll see the person, like I'll focus on their energetic body in front of me. And I always find that I'm working also on like the underside of them. So, say someone's laying on a table, like a lot of times when someone's in my presence or I'm doing like a physical session, I'm working mostly on because they're laying on their back, I'm working on their chakras from the, front of their body, which is just as powerful. But it's kind of cool because in a distance session, it's like a lot of times I'm working from underneath. So I'm working on the back of their chakras as well. And I feel like as though they levitate and I can lift the body energetically and kind of move the energy in whichever way that it needs to flow, whichever way it needs to flow out. And sometimes I'll have them, standing upright. And I feel like it's just it's like, I don't know, I go a little more deep because I'm visualizing and feeling them energetically without them being here with me. So it's kind of a cool experience. And I do find that I go more deep into my mind's eye as well. So I see things more visually. So it's kind of usually cool after the session because the things that we've experienced a lot of times are very similar. And I don't know if that's because we both went inward and were more, attached to the clairvoyant part of it or what, but it seems to be a lot more visual. I see more color. I see more like visions of maybe what their intention is or what it would look like for their intention, what it might look like in the future for them. Which still happens in a physical session, but I just find that distance session is kind of cool because it's like I'm in my own space and they're in their own space. So it's just, it expands things more for me.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. Sometimes I feel like it's like you're not distracted by the physical body. It's like you're just solely focusing on what's happening in the person's energy body and their energy field and working directly with that. And yeah, and I find the same, like the visuals can be really, really intense, and it often changes quite a bit. Like same person, different intention, the energy frequency can be totally different. Like you can go wherever you want to go with just simply changing that intention, and so often with Reiki, we're used to thinking of it as like helping us with our physical bodies, which definitely works with that mind body connection. And so releasing some of the energetic blockages or emotional stuff that might be caught in the body that is creating, pain or dysfunction or something. But it also can work with any sort of positive thing you want to draw into your life. So you don't have to be hurting to get a Reiki session. Some people are really curious about their past lives. And because Reiki is beyond time and space, it can help bring out information that might be sort of connected to past life memories and things like that. And so if you set that as an intention to do past life healing or to get more information, often that information comes back. And so sometimes it's like a movie that we both get to watch from different viewpoints, so I might see it in a different way as a practitioner, but the person will also have their own experience as well. And then we kind of compare notes and say, oh yeah, that I got that too. And I felt that too. So that's really cool. But then also working on things like drawing your life purpose towards you, or sort of manifesting the sort of beautiful life you want to have, or getting into alignment with abundance, those kinds of things as well. Sometimes the visuals go way, way up for both people, or just that feeling or sense of that frequency. And especially with law of attraction, it's such a frequency based process that when you're in the same harmony frequency as what it is that you'd like to draw into your life, then it starts arriving. And so you can basically set your intention to be in that, like, when you have everything you want, how will you feel? And then we can just hold that space for you and help you stay in that high vibe frequency that's a match to everything you want. And then you just sort of stand back and watch what happens in your life, But it's almost like this sort of little energetic fine tuning. And that definitely, like, the more relaxed you are when you receive a Reiki session, the more likely you are to connect to your own intuition. Sometimes because you don't have a person moving around you, touching you, you are also more aware of what's happening with your own energy. And that's really cool. So I often tell people when I'm teaching that, like, when we place our hands as practitioners, when you place your hand on somebody when you're doing Reiki, yes, you are flowing Reiki there, but that person is also aware that you've got your hand on their shoulder, and they are flowing their energy towards wherever you're touching. So I find the sessions are very collaborative, like basically supporting that person in getting their own self-healing or connecting to their own state of self-healing and well-being. And because we're not using our hands in distance Reiki, that person isn't going to feel that physical touch. We use our words. So that's why here we like to keep people on the line. So we'll do the session over Zoom or over the phone, because then that does a bunch of things. One is that you aren't going to get up and do the dishes or run after your kids. When you're in a distance session, it's like, treat it like a session and sit still, get cozy. And then we do the sort of chat and everything, but we like to keep the person on the whole time, because then you can kind of guide them into that relaxed state and then coach them to breathe, and maybe even like do some visualizations with different colors or energy, or focusing on different parts of the body, like bringing the energy down to their feet and rooting so they can feel grounded. So it's kind of cool that way. And then we always leave the last little bit to share experiences, because that's always really cool. And it blows my mind sometimes how well it all matches up. Like, I'll be maybe working on their heart chakra and seeing a lot of green energy flowing in, which matches the heart chakra color. And the person will say, I just saw green the whole time, and I was walking in the forest. And, and to me, I kind of see that as like a hit. It was like we made a connection there. I had an experience. I saw it from a different viewpoint. So maybe my experience was slightly different, but that other person also had that same, connection, which is just, it's super cool. I love it. Yeah. What do you find with people's experiences?
Sometimes, like, my mind will be blown after a session having a conversation, because sometimes, like, I'll experience something and then say it to the person, and then they'll be like, oh, like that. It's like, then it clicks. Like, I won't understand why I saw Archangel, Ariel in a session, but if I feel the intuition or impulse to say it, then the person might be like, oh my God, like that angel comes through every single time I receive a, intuitive reading or a Reiki session. Like, things like that have happened. Like, sometimes I'll go home and, like, my husband he's a pretty spiritual guy, but like Reiki is, Reiki is just crazy. Some of the synchronistic things that happen. Sometimes I'll just go home and he'll be like, oh, how was your session? I'll be like, it was amazing. Like, it was amazing. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain it to you, because it's just crazy. And like, you had to be there, and you have to just experience it, because it's such a personal experience. And the intention is so powerful. Like, you were speaking earlier about setting an intention and then allowing your frequency to elevate so that your intention can manifest. And that's one thing I've really noticed is that it all happened for me in my life in such a beautiful, gentle way that it's like all of a sudden like if I think back to when I first started even just learning Reiki, I mean, the spot I was in when I was a student, and just like I was like searching, and I had so much tense built up, like self doubt and so many things. And it's like the amount of insight that came through in Reiki sessions, just for me alone, divine messages of so simple, but saying like, you're worthy, right? People need to hear what you have to say. Then, like, write for yourself. The things that came through just were so uplifting. And it was like the same message, a lot of the same messages all the time, but it was like accurate. And when I started doing those things, when I started meditating, when I started like really, and just even having confidence in my practice, because I started later on in life, and just like, no, you can help other people. Like, other people need what you have to offer. And like, your flavor is what other people need. Like, we all have this gift. And it's just been so life changing for me. I feel like Reiki has helped me to just be who I was meant to be in this life.
Oh, that just like bursts my heart into 1,000 beautiful little sparkly confettis. That's so
Thank you.
amazing.
I'm pregnant, so give me a reason to cry and I will cry.
It's so amazing. And I really do feel that way when we do our work, is that the more I do this, the more I feel like we're not really adding anything. We're letting that beautiful spirit that's always been there, your heart, your soul, we're letting that energy have more space to breathe, and letting that sure, confident, beautiful, loving, compassionate self, letting that lead more choices in your life, letting it, letting yourself feel that more often. And when that happens, it's like, it's sure we change, but it's almost like we become more ourselves. And that's what I've found for me, is that I feel like I'm more myself, and I'm able to be myself, like the true me, in more and more and more situations that I would have never thought of in my 20s. Like in my 20s, like if you had gone back in time and told me, it's like, oh, by the way, you're going to be doing public speaking for a career, and you're going to be talking about all of these like sensitive, vulnerable, sometimes far out there things like energy and emotions and all of that. And I would look at you like you were an alien from another planet. I'm like, I don't want to. That was my worst fear, is talking in front of people. I would have never imagined I would have ever done anything like this. And yet here I am, because the light inside of me is actually pretty chatty, you
Yeah,
know,
very exciting.
very chatty. And I, especially about things that really light me up and I'm passionate about. And so it kind of got me over that like initial like fear, those fears that were holding me back. And it's not that I don't still have some of those fears. I think it's normal. I'm still human. But I find the practice and the self-healing practice aspect of Reiki to be so enormously helpful. So, yeah, amazing. Well, we could ramble on for the rest of our days, and likely will talk about this forever. But thank you so much for being here with me today, Melissa.
Well, thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everybody who's listening. If you want to try out this crazy distance virtual Reiki experience, please do. You can book in a session. You can be anywhere in the world. English speaking, but we have Google Translate, so we can always try that. But yeah, anywhere in the world, you can book in online, and we just send you a little email with a Zoom link, and we meet up and do this Reiki stuff. And we believe in it so much. We know from our own experience and the experience of our clients over all of these years that it works. We know that to be true. So we always have 100% guarantee that you'll be happy with the session you got. And if you're not, we'll give you a refund. No questions asked. If you find out that it's really not for you and it didn't work for you at all, that's okay. It might not. But we've never once refunded anybody. So you can take that however you like.
I'm just saying, it's probably going to work for you.
It probably will work for you. If you're listening to this podcast and you're going, I wonder, just book in, try it out. Experience is always the best teacher. We can talk for 20 years about Transcends Reiki, and you won't get the same information you will by actually trying it out. So give it a try, see if you like it. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you very much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Luna Holistic Podcast. We're so grateful that you are here. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear from you. Go to lunaholistic.com/podcast, and we'll answer you in an upcoming episode. Be sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And also, please rate, because you never know where your little 5 stars will go to shine light into somebody's heart today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.